So guys, as you're gonna see here, this is the brand new Mitsubishi Strada. What you're seeing is the brand new Mitsubishi Triton, and as you're gonna see, it's a really completely different car from the previous generation Strada, or rather the Strada, because well, this is a new nameplate for the Philippine market. And basically the story here is, Mitsubishi adopted the Triton name for the global market as opposed to having different names for different markets for their famous mid-size pickup. Now, in that transition to become a Mitsubishi Triton, yung kanyang itsura is also a lot different from the previous generation Strada, or yeah, basically the Strada. So up here in the front, you're gonna see that this is, by the way, the GLS two-wheel drive, the variant that's a little below the range-topping Athlete. And as standard in this variant and the Athlete, you're gonna get LED daytime running lights, LED headlights, and a nice set of gunmetal 18-inch wheels wrapped in all-terrain tires. So down the sides, you're gonna see, just like the front, very sharp angles, very boxy, kung sabihin natin, which is echoed in a lot of the car shapes here on the sides. In fact, whereas the previous Strada, or rather the Strada, was known for its curvy shape, ito ngayon, this is very boxy, and as a matter of fact, the signature J-line that the Strada is known for has been eliminated in this new Triton. So the car looks tougher as a result, in my opinion, and combined with the squared off arches and this sports bar, it gives the Strada, or rather the Triton, a very sharp and I guess more butch look. So moving towards the back end of the Mitsubishi Triton, you're gonna see that there's also a new set of taillights, a new set of bumpers. Basically, it's a new car from the ground up, including the platform, by the way, the ladder frame chassis, which of course means better rigidity, improved toughness when going off-road, and basically with the more rigid structure, ang kanang resulta rin, of course, is improved on-road and off-road driving dynamics. So I think it's a good time for us to hop inside the new Triton, and let's see how the interior feels like relative to its completely new exterior design. So now guys, let's step in here inside the new Mitsubishi Triton, and as you're gonna see, the interior also is completely new, completely redesigned from the ground up, just like the exterior. So similarly, again, just like the exterior, there's a lot of sharp angles, it's very boxy yung mga shapes niya. And the most important part here, I think, is the fact that the interior is a lot more modern, a lot more premium na rin in terms of the perceived quality. So the leather here in this particular GLS two-wheel drive variant looks, or rather feels so good on the steering wheel. The seats are in fabric, but that's okay, it's the GLS, because if you want the leather interior, you're gonna have to step up to the Athlete model. And then there's more soft touch leatherette surfaces here in the doors. I even like the graining sa pintuan niya. Though this is hard plastic, but the graining looks interesting, which is why it doesn't look or feel cheap. And it's actually yung thick plastic, so it feels dense, it feels robust. A lot of the interior actually feels very robust, well built. I love how hindi siya parang basically dali mong ma-deform ng mga panels. It's really robust. So in terms of the driving position, I actually like the fact that there's also tilt and telescoping steering, so maganda yung paghanap mo ng driving position mo. This is manual adjustment, by the way, itong sa GLS, but the range-topping Athlete gets power adjustable driver seat. And then as for the tech features, you're now greeted here by a really large multi-information display in the middle of the two gauges, along with the really nice 9-inch infotainment system. And if you're familiar with like the interface or the way that the operating system looks like in Nissan cars, you're gonna feel very familiar, or you're gonna be very familiar with how the software of this car operates. Because alam naman natin that both Nissan and Mitsubishi are part of the Renault Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance, so they're really gonna be sharing parts at this point. So yeah, the software part is one of those, and basically the software is using Mitsubishi fonts. Pero the software is, where the screen's sharp, the graphics are really nice here in the infotainment and the gauges. Equipment-wise, it's really good across all the variants. I also like the functionality of the interior because you have a lot of storage places here. You even have a dual-tiered glove box, which is wrapped, by the way, in this nice leatherette surface that, again, helps give this Mitsubishi Triton a really nice and upmarket interior. So yeah, as we're now gonna see here, the back of the Mitsubishi Triton is pretty spacious naman. This seat has been set up for my driving position, and I've got good headroom, good legroom in fact, and yun nga lang, as usual with the pickup, the seats are very vertical. So Yeah, in terms of the comfort, I think I'd still rather be an SUV for long drives, but this is not too bad because the seats are really comfortable. Medyo short in terms of thigh support, but I think it's good enough for the segment. Then, as for amenities here at the back of the GLS two-wheel drive, you have your usual armrest with 2 cup holders, and then you have your 12-volt outlet here and 2 USB charging ports, 1 USB-C and 1 USB Type-A. So, yun nga lang what I wish for the Triton to have is rear aircon vents because all of its competitors at this point, including the Hilux by the way, already comes with rear aircon vents. So, that's just a minor gripe. Overall, I do think the interior is a huge step up from the previous Strada. So, I think this is a good time for us to explore how this car drives, at least based on our first impressions in this closed sections of road. So right off the bat, first impressions is that the new Mitsubishi Triton feels a lot more refined, a lot more car-like than the previous generation Strada, or again, rather the Strada, because of its all-new platform. So from the ground up, this is a completely new car, which by the way, because of the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance, the new Mitsubishi Triton will actually share its platform with the upcoming Navara or whenever that car is going to be released. So, first impressions, the new Strada, or rather the new Triton, pag ilang beses ko nasabing Strada, feels, again, car-like because of the improved platform. It's very rigid. There's still the usual shake that you would expect in a pickup if you're going over imperfect roads, but it's not, as pronounced as before. It's almost as good as the Ford Rangers, which is my benchmark for ride comfort and rigidity because there's not a lot of shimming sa chassis niya. Well, there's still pa rin. It's still after a body-on-frame vehicle, but it's not as pronounced as the previous Strada. Again, the previous Strada is already pretty good actually in terms of the on-road dynamics, and this new Triton makes it a lot better. So with the driving experience, this new Triton feels really good. The hydraulic steering in this GLS two-wheel drive is actually sa totoo lang, it's already very light. Like, it's almost as light as electric power steerings in competing vehicles. And sa totoo lang, by the way, having mentioned the electric power steering part, all variants of the Strada, or the Triton rather, get hydraulic steering. But if you go for the range-topping Athlete, that now gets an electronic power steering, which by the way, feels very light. Yet at the same time for me, what Mitsubishi has done a good job is, compared to the electric power steerings of what the Ranger and Everest used to be, at least used to be. Kasi the Everest and the Ranger's electric power steering now is pretty good. There's more feel with the electric power steering of the Strada Athlete. I've driven it a while ago kanina before hopping into this GLS two-wheel drive. So, as a result, despite being very light, you're still able to know how or what's happening to the front wheels as a result of that. And despite having light steering, it's very easy to place the vehicle while you're going on trails. And speaking of the steering part, one of my favorite aspects with the Strada before has been its turning circle. And it's one of the smallest turning circles in the segment. Here in the Triton, it's still pretty much the same piece. So makita nyo kanina, I went through that patch of road na hindi ako nag-maneuver and all. It's just a one-shot U-turn basically. As for the other aspects, the engine's also new. A lot has been re-engineered even in this GLS two-wheel drive. Noteworthy is the 2.4-liter twin-turbo diesel engine that's in the Triton Athlete because that produces a lot of power. The power figures in that engine are pretty good. One of the best in its class na nga at this point. Though the torque figure, oddly enough, is not yet in the 500 Nm mark. Pero still, the horsepower figure is pretty good. And what's good about this engine, or these engines, this 2.4-liter Mavic diesel engine, is that torque comes in at a early RPM. I can't rev it that hard though because this is, well, a very new car. Kung makita niyo yung mileage, it barely has even done 100 kilometers at this point. So, syempre, di natin pwedeng i-beat it to. We have to follow the break-in protocols of cars like these. The suspension, the ride comfort also pretty good. A lot better pa nga, I think, than the previous Strada. Though again, first impressions, it's gonna be subject to change once I'm actually able to take this car on my usual 1 week at least na review. But again, yun nga, so far, so good. You can already tell the difference in terms of refinement. There's less engine noise creeping into the cabin. And if there is man, the engine sounds pretty good, pretty refined. Hindi siya yung maklattery masyado. And in addition to that, the GLS two-wheel drive pa lang already gets a full suite of advanced driver assistance systems. So wala kang adaptive cruise control, but you do get automatic emergency braking, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, lane departure warning. And on top of that, you also have a 360-degree camera, which, so totoo lang, based on my experience ngayon, it's one of the sharpest and most high-definition 360-degree cameras out there. I'm loving the 360 camera of this vehicle. But apart from the tech, the drive experience is really, ngayon pa lang, it's, the improvements are so good. If in just this short drive, pansin mo na agad yung improvements niya. So, yeah, I can't wait to get this car for a full review. And so now that we've made our first impressions with the new Triton, how much does this pickup cost? So, you're gonna see on the screen now how much the Mitsubishi Triton is if you wanna buy one for yourself.
So yes, the Mitsubishi Triton is completely brand new from the ground up, which as a result, the improvements are already noticeable in just this short drive. We can't wait to take this car out on a much longer term. So be sure to stick to Go Flat Out PH for more on the Mitsubishi Triton.